live, we're on TV.
Yes.
No, we haven't made a decision on this.
No, we're waiting for our staff to come back and give us a recommendation.
They've already given us a recommendation.
It's not in public.
Oh, so we weren't in public before.
No, we were not.
So now we're gonna go into public.
We are in public right this second.
Good to know.
That's why I was trying to tell them that. Okay, your report.
Okay, yeah, so just as I guess a bit of an update, so this is a potential option to give first reading to a request to rezone lands around Sawyer Lake within the municipality of Chester to the lakeside zone. So what I will do, I guess, is just start with an update. So this file was first brought potentially for first reading on June 8th to council. We have gone through the necessary required meetings and processes. We had gone to the Municipal Planning Advisory Committee, and it was brought forward. However, at that point, there was a request from a property owner within the area proposed to be rezoned that council postponed making the decision to allow for a discussion with staff on potential parkland dedication and the creation of a park bordering Sawyer Lake. So we had that meeting. Basically, we took it off the agenda and had that meeting at the end of June. And I guess what I would report back from that meeting is that, yes, there does appear to be intent from.
Yes, I need to indicate that Councillor Reno has excused himself for potential. Yeah, great, sorry.
Yeah, so we had that meeting with the developer, and there's no, I guess the important details are that there's no formal agreement yet with the developer. The land transfer is expected to come through when a subdivision application is submitted. We don't have that currently, but all signs are pointing to that is the intent, and so it was a positive meeting. The other, I think, piece of information that did come out of that meeting that we didn't know going in was that the developer does intend to retain some portion of the waterfront property, so that the intent is not to deed the entire width of the lakeshore to the municipality. The specifics on that we don't know yet, and again, that will come at the subdivision point if when an application is received. So essentially, with that said, it brings us back to where we were on June 8th, which is that, and I'm happy to go through or answer questions or go through any elements of the report. I guess as a quick summary, the staff recommendation and findings are that due to a number of factors, the proximity of Highway 103, the small number of properties that would be impacted by this zone, and the lack of control that we have on the remainder of the lake and potential issues with siltation and other issues, we felt, our staff are proposing that this may not be an appropriate area for the lakeside zone to be applied. It may be an area that we do want to allow more development, knowing that it is at a highway exit and where we again have this proposed commercial use plan there already. So the staff recommendation was to refuse or reject the rezoning application.
Reject, yeah.
Yeah, and when we brought that to Municipal Planning Advisory Committee, they did not concur with the staff recommendation, so I just want to point that out. So their recommendation was that council apply the lakeside zone at a depth of 20 meters from the high water mark. So in terms of options for council today, it would be to follow the municipal planning recommendation of applying it at 20 meters, apply it at some greater depth. Those are options as well, or reject the essentially say no, reject the application, in which case we would just notify the applicant, and that opens up the standard right of appeal for 14 days to the utility review board. If council
two options, I think we've had plenty of discussion. Does anybody prepared to move anything?
That we reject a request to rezone the lakeside zone portion of Sawyer Lake that's in Chester Municipality.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Moved in second. Discussion.
So this was staff recommendation
yes,
as opposed to the planning advisory recommendation.
that's right. Yeah, and that was I guess I would note that planning and Councilor, I may want to speak to this, the planning advisory, it was not a unanimous decision at that meeting.
Now, the request that we received on July 25th, the letter
That's the in-camera one.
is that part of the record?
Cameras. It's not up. At this stage,
Should be.
it's not.
It's technically a letter to Gareth, unlike a letter to council. So it's within your staff file, your file.
Yeah, so it is, yeah, so we did,
My mistake.
I guess I could speak to that then. There was a request received on July 25th from the applicant asking us to withhold the application at this time. And that they do not, but that council does not proceed with consideration today. There was also, and it wasn't included in the package, but through correspondence with the applicant, there was the applicant had proposed that council may want to form a subcommittee to look at the park creation and that type of thing. So my understanding is that this letter would have been in support of that concept of not moving forward until all of the details were known about the potential park.
So the motion on the floor is
To
reject
reject the request to rezone.
reject the request.
I'm not speaking against the motion, it's in my area. And, we went through a process before, there's some zoning changes which were allowed. And the main concerns that we get from the public were the lake and protecting of the lake, and I respect the staff report. But this would protect all of the lake that's in this valley of Chester, and I know it's a big lake. And the other things that happen there at HRM. But I see no harm in putting a 20-meter setback around that area of that lake. I can only see good coming from it, so I'm gonna oppose the.
Anyone else? Yeah.
And I respect the staff's recommendation. And we're here to have healthy discussion, but as I indicated not too long ago, I would support the councillor representing the area and the wishes of his community. That's where I will be going as well with the motion now.
Anyone else want to speak before I call the question?
So this motion would be supported presumably by the applicant. Based on that letter, July 25th, or am I misreading that?
You're misreading, the motion would be against the wishes of the applicant based on the July 25th
Yeah,
letter.
the applicant has changed his mind and now wants us to delay the decision while they negotiate.
They're not
They're not-
requesting to withdraw the application, which would take it off of the
Delay.
table entirely. They've requested us to essentially make no decision until they presumably ask us to make a decision.
And they can appeal the decision, correct?
Yes, yeah.
Either way.
If we say no today, the applicant has the right of appeal. If we say yes today, everybody else, the community has the right of appeal, including the developer.
If you say no to the
Oh.
motion.
Yes,
Right.
yeah, if we reject the rezoning request, then the applicant has the right of appeal.
Right.
If we proceed and ultimately approve it at public hearing,
Sure.
then it opens up, the right of appeal to
What we're
everyone.
voting on now in this motion is to
To
reject.
reject.
To reject it.
Reject.
So if
Which
you
is what
reject this,
the person who applied for was telling us they want
Well,
us
they want us to delay it, he did not want us to.
Yeah, sure, it's ambiguous.
Well, I'm taking it from that.
I understand.
wants us to reject it, but we can't really delay it, we have to start again.
But Mr. Deputy Warden,
Yes,
it's
Mr.
your area. Even though the applicant now is asking us to delay, you think there's general support for it in your community?
Yes, and
And not by the applicant at this point, but
my understanding from all the information I've been given today, that request for delay is based on the developer possibly giving that property. or turn it at 10%, whatever it is over
Well,
time.
you can still do that even if we approve the rezone. Yeah.
I know.
So you're not supporting our staff recommendation, you want,
No,
no.
He wants a rezone.
Okay.
Okay, those in favor? Opposed? Motion's defeated. So, do we require a motion to approve the rezoning?
Well, we're not approving it today.
No.
We'd be giving a first reading and setting a date for a public hearing, which I believe would be September. We're not gonna have time to get that unless we call a special meeting in August. So that also, I should also mention that will extend us past the 120-day timeline. So we will also require a motion to renew the 120-day timeline for.
We need that
a rezoning
now?
application. We need that now.
A motion to renew the 120-day timeline, somebody prepared to move it?
I'll move.
Seconder,
Second.
discussion, all those in favor? Opposed, motion's carried. And now you're just gonna set a date for,
Yes, so we would.
You need a motion to give first reading.
Yeah. it's not first reading.
Because you're gonna have another opportunity to make a decision.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's right, that's only the first step.
Yeah.
so first reading,
Move up from
option one, first reading, seconder? We have a seconder?
Second.
Discussion, all those in favor? Opposed, motion's carried.
And I think we'd probably like to do the public hearing for the first council meeting in September, if that's agreeable. We'll circulate the dates and advertise that.
That works. Okay, motion to adjourn,
I'll move.
discussion, anybody's opposed?